on the Pennsylvania situation that I didn't want to wait until later, so I wanted this to appear immediately after the other stream. So Whitney responded right away and completely avoided the issue. She said that Joshua did get the email. Emails get lost. It's funny how she focused on the minor issues. But okay. And she did make public the initial email that was sent by an Ohio member to try to challenge Pennsylvania. So we're going to go over part of that because there was something mentioned in that complaint that I didn't mention in my last show. And there was a portion of the Constitution that the Ohio member brought up that I did not catch. So I want to address that here because I don't want anyone to say, oh, you didn't see that portion in your other show, so that completely invalidates everything. Readily admit I did not see this section in my initial review before the show, so we're going to deal with it here, and it doesn't make a difference. And Whitney just never dealt with the fact that it was inappropriate for her to become the advocate for this Ohio member and push the credentials committee. If all she did was forward the email and left it at that, but she pressured them. And she did publish, and I will give her credit for that, the emails. So Justin, if you want to see the emails, you can see they are exactly as I read them out. Exactly as I read them out. So my source was correct, but I told you that because I had copies. So the emails are on the list now, so everyone can see them. You don't need to trust me. If she had just forwarded it and left it at that, we wouldn't be having this conversation. But I want to bring up that additional piece of the Constitution of Pennsylvania that I did miss. I admit when I miss things, but again, it doesn't make a difference. And in fact, it makes my case. 1 second here. Okay, that's between... Let me try to find it here. I was just looking at it. Where'd it go? Mr. Smith. Come on, where'd it go? Oh, here it is. Okay, so I want to bring this up on the screen. Let me see how I can do that, because, yeah, there's the letter. I want to avoid, though it's public now, and I guess I don't have to avoid the name of the letter writer because it's public now in the LNC. I do need to take this part off. Okay, the part in the Pennsylvania Constitution I did miss, but it doesn't make a difference. Let's again pretend that state law does prohibit out-of-state people from voting. Remember, the national bylaws say we don't care. So, he quotes the Libertarian Party of Pennsylvania Constitution. This is the part that I missed. It says, at such time as the party qualifies to be placed on the ballot, which it is. I'm not sure when that happened, but I think it's been a while. It is. The Constitution, bylaws, and rules of the party shall be amended to conform with the provisions of the Pennsylvania Election Code. Now, notice what that says. It doesn't say that whatever things in the bylaws exist that conflict with the election code will be determined to be null and void. It says that at such time, the bylaws will be amended. It means they need to go through a formal process of amendment. The board of directors shall be empowered to take such action as it deems necessary to bring the Constitution, bylaws, and rules into compliance with the code. So, an action has to be taken by the board. The bylaws have to be actually amended. So even taking as true for the sake of argument that the election code did require that, it's then on the board to amend the bylaws, which they didn't do. And because they didn't do that, the election was perfectly in conformity with the bylaws as they existed. And National says, as long as the election was within conformity with the bylaws, we don't care about state law. Now, the board might be in violation of their own bylaws for not amending them the way they were directed to, but that has absolutely nothing to do with this issue. The members in Pennsylvania may have some cause against the board for this. They do have ballot access, I believe. They're minor parties. I don't know. I'm taking all of this as true for the sake of argument. This does not say that once that happens, the bylaws themselves are, any portion of them that conflicts is rendered null and void. It does not say that. It says that the board will be authorized to go through an amendment process. The bylaws were not amended. So the board could have screwed up, but the convention didn't. The convention followed the bylaws as they have to. Now, this letter writer goes into the history of why the board didn't bother amending the bylaws, but that's irrelevant to this issue because it kind of just proves the point. It says the board shall be empowered to take action as it deems necessary. If the board couldn't come to a decision through the parliamentary process to do this, it means the official decision of the board is that it didn't deem it necessary. Proving my point. With my point being, even if they were correct about the state law, and I don't believe they are, and I'll tell you why I don't believe that. It's not because I've done an in-depth examination of the Pennsylvania law. I'm not a lawyer. I hate election law. People in Pennsylvania who know what they're doing that I trust have done it. And I believe them when they say there's no issue. But I haven't done that examination myself, I want to be clear. But people I trust who know what they're doing, who are actually in Pennsylvania, have. But we can take as true for the sake of argument only that it does break state law. It doesn't matter because our bylaws say nationally, we don't care. As long as they did their elections in accordance with their bylaws. And they did. Their bylaws as they existed at the time of the election were followed. Separate issue if the board was supposed to amend them at some point. Take that up with the board. That has absolutely nothing to do with seating national convention delegates. Nothing. The Credentials Committee has no authority here. And if the Credentials Committee considers this, and it's funny how Whitney didn't know this, they are violating national bylaws. But you notice how Whitney ignored. She produced the emails, and I will give it up for her for that, because I think she knew she kind of had to. But she ignored the issue of impropriety, of pressure, of why she ignored other states that have issues when those delegates would be voting the way she liked, but isn't ignoring Pennsylvania. Why she's getting involved in the Credentials Committee rather than writing the Ohio member to say the LNC cannot do anything about your concerns. I suggest you write the Credentials Committee, which is what she should have done. Instead, she inserted herself into this. And when Susan told her, listen, we don't really want to handle this, she said, I sure hope the Credentials Committee. Like, why are you throwing your weight around? That's inappropriate. Utterly inappropriate. To use a Laura Epke saying, Whitney, stay in your lane.